I love though that that's another thing too, is this action is not kind. Some movies you can see Polo. This movie, they smash heads. This is a smash head movie. This is an arm loss movie. This is a Joker cheek slash Joker smile movie. And I dig that about the violence in this.
Very much. And like you said, I appreciate when I watch a movie that is very action heavy. And, you know, some action movies, when they get to those scenes that are really brutal, right before they do the actual brutalization, they'll cut away and they'll like show the person's face like as they do it. And they're like, argh. Whereas in these Korean movies, they will just show, like you said, homeboy's head gets smashed. You see it and you see the blood splatter on the daughter's face. And then she like has a fit. So I appreciate that sometimes because it's needed to kind of put you in the same space as the main character, right?
Yes.
When you're able to be in that same space mentally and say, ooh, these mofos need to die right now because they just killed this little girl's daughter, I appreciate that. Like, give me that a little bit more when it's, especially in a revenge movie. Like, don't give me a revenge movie where Pearson gets, or somebody's family member gets killed or whatever, but you don't see it and you don't understand the motivation for that person to do what they're doing. You know, you see this girl, you understand her motivation, and as she's going through the training, you see her pushing herself more harder than anybody else around her, right? Mm-hmm. So that reinforces in you like, wow, her motivation is serious. She's really going there. So I appreciate it when action movies will take that step to really immerse you into the movie to such a degree where you can feel, I see a cattail.
Yeah.
Where you can, be on that same page as the main character.
My cat Ghost has joined us for this. Ghost is a big fan of the Villainess, so he wanted to be part of this podcast. This episode. But also too, man, the movie's called The Villainess. So you should have villainess violence. Yes, you should. You should definitely have villainess violence. I do like, too, how they establish her as the ultimate badass. There's a scene where she's in her training, their second round of training, and it's basically her and this other woman who are the 1 and 2. But the gap between the 1 and 2 is almost like the gap between Christian Bale and Taye Diggs in Equilibrium. It's just a light years away. So she's light years better than all these people in this training program with her. And she should be, because she's already been trained to be assassin. But she's going to get into this wood sword fight with this woman. And this woman tries to conquer from the back of the head with a wooden sword, which would really hurt. Very much will hurt. She moves her arm behind her head, and the thing just stops on her wrist. And so you're like, whoa, this, you know, I'd be screaming. Both you and I would be running around the room, holding our wrists, crying, like you'd be rolling on the ground. Yeah. I'd be too. I'd just be screaming about my wrist. She just blocks it and then just levels. And then manages to put old girl in her place and say, try me again, bitch. That's basically what she was like. Try me again, bitch. I got you. I got something for you. Mm-hmm. And then, you want candid camera. It's kind of an interesting journey, too. This guy said that he wanted to take a woman who was really nice and turn her into the villainess. But do you get that vibe from this? Because as a child, she was brought up to be a killer. And then she becomes a murderer. And then she kind of has, I guess for me is, did they make her a little too soft in the middle? Because her whole life was murdering people. And then she becomes this very domesticated, you know, sweeping music. Did you think they did that a little bit too much in this? Or do you think that's just like we talked about, the Korean melodrama? Well, I think that's a good question. I don't think they did too much, because if we're looking at her character's arc, right? Once she finds out she's pregnant, that creates a shift in her head at that point where she's, I need something different. Now it's not just me anymore. So I can understand why they did that, and you know, especially to kind of normalize the child's life. You know, coming from where she came from, it makes sense. It makes sense for her to become a little bit more domesticated and to kind of lose that killer instinct, you know, that she had in the beginning. Give her daughter what she never had. Exactly. So then when she's forced to kind of come back out of it, you see that kind of killer reemerge. So I feel like it fits, it works because of that device of her becoming pregnant, and then you know, her kind of realizing like, all right, I'm in this situation, you know, and in order for me to get out of this situation, I'm just going to do what I need to do. And you see that after she's in that, the training program, you see her go from a point of like,
trying to escape, get the hell out of there, like a wild
Yeah,
dog.
I love that.
Like a
I
wild
love that.
animal.
Yeah.
And then she goes from that to like understanding, all right, this is my position, this is my role, and there's nothing I can do at this point, and I'm pregnant. So I think it makes sense in the case of the narrative and keeping that narrative going. She started out in a world of crime. She ends up in another world of crime, but then she's pregnant at the same time. So
yeah. Now the shift makes sense, and that's a good point. I kind of forgot about that adorable little baby girl who's just adorable in this movie. So I kind of forgot about that shift. It makes a lot more sense now, I would say.
And I think too that shift is what makes her even more deadlier, as the movie progresses, because now she has something to die for and protect at this point. So I think ultimately that's what makes her the villainess, is because she went from being, in this world of just, drugs and crime to being thrust in this kind of secret society of crime or assassination, to having a child and saying, you know what, I have a kid now. I can't live for just me anymore. I have to live for myself and my child. And then that kind of sets her on that path to where then once that's threatened, she has to come back and reemerge as this dark villainess to take out the people who are trying to play her, basically.
I love that she gets the suit and everything to become the villainess. I dig it. And one thing I like too is normally it's the shadow agency that becomes the evil being. So they wanted her to kill her husband. They didn't know this. She didn't kill her husband because she thought he was dead. And then her husband, they meet later because he does some CSI work after she doesn't kill him. He kind of tells her that the agency is bad and he's the good guy. But I love that the agency isn't real. The agency's bad. They're a shadow group of assassins. But the husband is the main antagonist in this movie. They wanted to kill him because he's a bad man. She didn't do it. And then she kind of thought, oh, it's the agency who's evil. But it was the husband. So the husband kind of played her. So I thought that was a fun play on, normally it's the big shadow agency that's evil. Like, I'm going to come get you later. Yeah. But then it just turns out to be her husband's the main, or ex-husband's the main asshole in this, the main antagonist. So that was a fun spin. I really didn't see it going that direction.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, too, again, that's what makes the movie so good. It's like all the twists and turns that you just don't see coming. For me, there's nothing worse when I watch a movie, and within the first 10 minutes of the movie, I already have the plot figured out, and I know what's about to happen. That did not happen in this movie at one point for me, because every time you thought you had it, something else different happened. And you're like, oh, wait. Oh, shit. That's why.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there was a lot of that in this movie, and I really am appreciative of that, because I don't feel like there's enough of that in newer, modern, more recent action movies, as it were.
No, absolutely. So, is there anything else you want to kind of talk about before we get out of here? Any final thoughts about the Villainess that you want to get out? Any other things in this movie you want to chat about?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like I said before, if you haven't seen it, give it a shot. And South Korean action movies in general, just like they are some of the best action movies out there. They have really high production value, production quality. Some of the best action you will see in cinema. Revenger is another good example of a movie. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but it was on Netflix.
The Man from Nowhere?
And The Man from Nowhere is another great one. There's a lot of good, Korean action movies.
The Good, the Bad, and the Weird?
That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Give them a shot. Check out The Villainess. It's a really dope movie with a really dope plot and really dope action. I keep saying dope because it's really dope.
Dope's a good movie, too.
Dope. Oh, Dope is such a good movie. Talk about good movie, man. That was such a great movie.
You missed an opportunity. You just said Dope is so good. I thought you were going to say Dope is so dope.
Oh, Dope is so dope. Oh, my gosh. It's such a dope-ass movie.
I tried to John Stockton assist Karl Malone there, but...
I missed it. I'm sorry. I'm
NBA
sorry.
NBA Jam, that was my team.
You're on fire. You were on fire.
No, also, too, man, is reading about this, she trained for 8 months. And so she said that she trained for 3 hours a day. And this place without air conditioning, which I love. And whenever you see her face, she did 90% of her stunts. And you can feel that in this. And I dig it. And like you said, this is just a unique action film. It's different. It warrants the hype, I believe, because it's different. And it's well thought out. So, yeah, I mean, I'm happy you recommended this to me. And I'm happy we recorded this episode.
Oh, no problem. I'm all about it. And like I said, I love a good action movie. And anytime I find something good, I want to share it to the world. I want to make sure everybody knows how good the thing is that I saw. so they can feel the same way I felt when I watched it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, dude, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure. I appreciate it. And yeah, let's do this again.
We're doing Long Kiss Goodnight next.
Yes. Wait,
Yeah.
Yes, Queen, yes. No, let's definitely do
Long Kiss Goodnight, Juseo.
Long Kiss Goodnight, Juseo. 감사합니다.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, and for Kiyon, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.
Peace.